Okay, got another video here. Another pupil examination, so we're up to 4.8. So 4.8. Okay, so before we even think of the pupils, there's just an obvious drooping of the right eyelid, a ptosis. And the other thing that's just obvious straight away is that relative to the left eye, the patient's right eye is actually deviated. Now, of course, which eye is deviating is a bit of a relative thing because it depends on which eye is fixing. So you just have to be careful, but here it looks like this left eye is fixing at you, and therefore the right eye is deviating down and out compared to the fixing left eye. But if you were to sort of cover this eye and get this eye to fixate, you might find that this eye then goes, out. So it's just being aware of that the eye that's fixating is relevant to this idea about the deviation. But you could say that that's a divergent squint, and there's a vertical as well as a horizontal misalignment. And the other obvious thing is the pupils are different sizes. And if we switch off the lights, well, what's happened here is this left pupil, the patient's left pupil, is now dilated, and it's now similar in size to the right pupil. So the difference in pupil sizes is most obvious in light conditions, and it's less obvious in dark or scotopic lighting. And then does the pupil react? Well, let's see. So this pupil reacts to light shone of it, and then this pupil doesn't react to light shone of it. So now we want to look at this pupil as we shine light here, and again this pupil doesn't react either to direct or consensual response. I guess the other question is, does this react to light shone here? Yes, it does react. So we know that the problem is on the efferent pathway of the right eye, whereas the afferent pathway, the signal going into the brain, is intact, because that's what allows the signal to respond to the light at that right eye. And we can guess without even doing it that there's not going to be a relative afferent pupil defect. Let's have a look. So this time I'm judging the relative afferent pupil defect. I'm swinging the light but looking at this pupil all the time, which in real life is actually quite difficult to do, because it's very difficult to look at a pupil when the light is being swung to and from in a proper dark room. So it's often a two-man job. You need one person to be doing the light shining, and then another person whose job is simply to watch this pupil, because it is quite difficult to do. Okay, so we've got a ptosis, a dilated pupil, and we've got the divergent, the eye that's down and out. So all those things build up to a third nerve palsy. So are the pupils normal or abnormal? They're abnormal. Is there an isochoria in light or dark? There's an isochoria most obvious in light, which says that the abnormal pupil is the dilated pupil. Does each pupil react to light? No, the right pupil doesn't react to light. Is there an RAPD? No, there isn't. What kind of defect is it? Well, it's a pupil involving third nerve palsy. And what test could confirm this? I guess in terms of a test, it's really, what investigation to do next. So in terms of a pupil involving third nerve palsy, the thing to be concerned about is whether or not there's a compression from a posterior communicating artery aneurysm. So this patient would need urgent cerebral angiography, and by doing that they may then identify an aneurysm and even treat it if they've got facilities to coil and things. Often people have a magnetic resonance angiogram and MRA, and from then they would therefore go for further angiography with formal coiling if that was a dilating posterior communicating artery aneurysm. Other urgent causes that can also cause a pupil involving third nerve palsy: giant cell arteritis, pituitary apoplexy, so inflammatory markers, headaches, joint stiffness, giant cell arteritis questions. I think headache is actually not a great question, because a, a sort of diabetic or microvascular third nerve palsy is quite often associated with headache. So it's the other symptoms that are better discriminated as symptoms of meningism, so photophobia, neck stiffness, reduced consciousness. These are all things that are really alerting you that something very significant is going on. And we've actually got if I go back there, we can look at, I've got an illustration of a dilating aneurysm, so let's just put that. So if this is a posterior communicating artery, and it's sort of pressing on the third nerve in green, so the posterior communicating artery is going between the middle cerebral and the posterior cerebral artery, and as it's dilating, it's involving the nerve and compressing it. So, I hope that's helpful. Bye for now.